go.
You're frozen in Chicago.
Oh, muted. Sorry, I don't know what's going on, man. Am I back now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I apologize. Okay, so new Perek. Yeah, let's try and get to the end of the sugya. Maybe we'll have to push it to Motzei Shabbos because it's a major, probably the number one shaila that gets asked nowadays, which is packages arriving on Yom Tov, is towards the end of this daf. Okay, so let's see. Says up the new Perek, yeah. Ain't Sadin dogim and a bivaron. You're not allowed to trap fish from bivaron is from Yom Tov, from a lake. Very nice and name is and you're not allowed to feed them either. Well, let's finish the mission. We'll get back to that. But a chaya and a oif from a bivaron. I guess a bivaron is some sort of like a sanctuary where they're meant to be trapped from. That is allowed. A nice and name is and you could put food in front of them. You can't just make a blanket rule to all these sanctuaries. Zaklau, what's the rule? Say the usr. If it's missing trapping, then it's going to be usr. Meaning, if there's enough room in whatever it is, this pond or this sanctuary, whatever it is, that it would still require you to trap the animal, then you're not allowed to take it on Yom Tov. But if it's not missing trapping, then it's mutter. Yeah, fine. So now, what? First of all, what's going on here with the? It seems like there's a connection between trapping and feeding. If you're not allowed to trap them, meaning they're not trapped before Shabbos or before Yom Tov, not before Shabbos, before Yom Tov, then you're not allowed to feed them, right? Which is why you're not allowed to feed. Like when people do tashlich, yeah, you're not allowed to feed the fish by tashlich. Those are not. There would be a chiyuv. You're not allowed to trap them. You're not allowed to feed the fish. Same thing with what do you call it? Shabbos shira, when people want to feed the birds. So according to most, you're not allowed to feed the birds because you'd be chayiv on trapping for them. Since you're chayiv on trapping, then then it's an issue, right? So that's the first thing. Now, why is it that trapping's not allowed? If you're allowed to shecht, right? You're allowed to shecht on Yom Tov according to Ikar Din. You're allowed to make fires. You're allowed to do all this stuff. Why can't you trap? Good trapping. Trapping is one of the 39 malachas, but you're allowed to do many other things. So how come trapping not? So that we already had way back on Daf Gimel in the beginning of the Masechta, where Rashi says if it can be just as fresh to do the work yesterday as he did today, so then that's fine. So you shouldn't, meaning that's enough to do, and you don't have to do it on Yom Tov, so then we don't allow it. And Tosfos says that it's only from which Lisha and on, whatever it is. Lisha, was it? Which one am allowed? Whatever, from there. Anything before that is not allowed. Okay, whatever it is. But that's why trapping is more chomer than anything else. So Zok the Gemara now on Chavdal Amud Aleph, Raminin Eski Estira, Bivarin Shal Chayav Shal Oifus, Ain't Sadem Hen B'Yom Tov. Bivarin of Chayav and Oifus, you're not allowed to trap on Yom Tov. Our Mishnah says that you are allowed to. Chayas and Oifus you're allowed to, just fish you're not allowed to. And now this price is saying that you are allowed to. Very nice and name is Zainus, and you're not allowed to feed them. Kasha Chaya, Kasha Oifus. It's a stira from the Chaya, from wild animals to wild animals, and it's a stira from birds to birds. So bishlam achaya chaya like kasha. So wild animals not a kasha. Rabbi Yehuda Rabanan. One is Rabbi Yehuda, one is Rabanan. The Tanan Rabbi Yehuda Aimer hatzot zibra lemigdol letzvi labayis chayev. The Mishna is Rabbi Yehuda, who says that if you trap a bird into a, I think type of migdal, into a
Closet.
it's a closet. I mean, it's utzvi labayis, or a deer into a house, so you're chayev. That's considered trapping, right? So the way the rule works is like this: if you are chayev and trapping it on Shabbos, that means if it's in there on Shabbos already and then you grab it, you're not chayev on trapping. Meaning putting a deer into your house is considered trapping, right? Because a deer is going to feel trapped in your house. So that means if it's considered trapping on Shabbos, if the deer is already in there from before Shabbos, then and you decide to grab onto the deer, you're not going to be chayev for trapping because it's already trapped, right? So that's what Rabbi Yehuda is saying. That
Didn't we have Gemaras with closing doors, leaving doors if it has a way out with the deers and everything?
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Right? So I mean, so the question, the question is, a dog considered trapped in a house? Many parties can say that it is. Right? Many parties can say that it's considered trapping a dog. So you have a problem with getting a dog in a house when you're closing the door behind the dog. But whatever it is, once the dog is considered trapped in the house, then you're not going to consider it trapping if you grab onto the dog. Right? Meaning if you can't have it both ways. You can't have it that if you put a dog in a house and close the door, you just trap the dog. And then if in the middle of Shabbos, you decide to grab onto the dog and hold it, that you chayev for trapping. It's either one or the other. It's not both. Right? So that's what we're saying here. Right? So it's mashma labayis, who continuing the Gemara, labayis who the mechayev. You're only chayev for putting a deer or a bird that's into a house. But if you put it into this sanctuary, wherever it is, that's not considered trapping. So therefore, if you do trap it on Yom Tov, that's a problem. Chachamim say no. You are allowed to. A bird is considered trapped when you put it into a closet, and a tzvi into a garden, and to a chatzar bivaron. He says even where it has room to run around, the Chachamim say that's still considered trapping. So if you would take a deer and put it into a big corral, according to Chachamim, it's not an issue, right? So then that would be the answer to the stira. One brayso is the Chachamim, and the Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda. But what do you do about birds? Right, we still have a stira in birds. One Mishnah says you're allowed to trap birds on Yom Tov from a bivarin, and one says you're not allowed to. So Gemara answers, maybe you're going to say that we can answer it's not a kasha. One is talking about like a sanctuary that has a roof over it, and one is talking about a sanctuary that does not have a roof over it. But bias, the kabiva mekayra dummy, a house is like an enclosed, like a beaver with a roof. And according to both Rabbi Yehuda and Rabanan, a tzipor, to trap it into a closet, you're chayev, but labayis, you're not chayev. So Amar Rabbi Baravuna, we're talking about a tzipor dror. Yeah, that's how do you call it? A bird that does live in a house, right? She'ena mekabelas moros. I'm sorry, that is the other way around. It doesn't accept moros, right? Meaning Rashi says it flies around in the room, in the house. I think that would be most birds. It doesn't. It's not. What's the word we look for? It's not obedient. Not obedient, right? It flies from one side of the house to the other side of the house. The Tani Dvei Rabbi Shmuel, Lama Nikra Shma Tzipor Dror. Why is it called a tzipor dror? Because it's the same way it lives in a house. It lives in a field, meaning there's no difference. Yeah. So therefore, the stira that we can answer the stira that one is talking about where it's you took to trap the bird from a place that had a roof on it, and one is from a place that you didn't. Hasha das is lachi. So once you're saying that chaya namalakash, you could also answer the stira between chayas. One is talking about in a small beaver and I want to summon a large beaver. Hechidam beaver cotton. What's a small one? Hechidam beaver gadol. What's a big one? So Ravashi called beaver cotton. If you're running after the animal to catch it, and all you have to do is jump at it once, and you're gonna get to it, that's considered a beaver cotton. Idach, and anything bigger than that, meaning if you're gonna have to run after it any more than one jump, one lunge, which I guess would make it the length of the body of a human body, then it would be considered beaver gadol. Inami, beaver gadol. If it has these little corners, then that's considered a beaver gadol because the animal could hide in it, so it's not considered trapped. Idach, beaver cotton, and anything else is small, is considered small. Inami, the nafli tulu the kasli adadi. This we had in the beginning of Sukkah, actually, right? If the shadows reach each other, meaning if the walls are so close to each other, the walls of this enclosure are so close that the shade overlaps each other on the floor, then that's considered small. So that's beaver cotton. Idach, and the other, and anything bigger than that is going to be considered a beaver gadol. Okay, right? So that's essentially what we're saying. So basically, what you have to keep in mind with all these halachas is of trapping, it depends, A, how big the enclosure is, and B, what type of animal is it? Is it a domesticated one? Is it one that listens? Is it one that doesn't listen? And that, again, the practical is for those that have dogs, right? You have to know what type of dog you're dealing with, right? Do you have a dog that just sits around all day and doesn't do much? You don't really have much of an issue opening and closing the door of your house. But if you have a dog that the second you open that door, it runs to the door to run out, which is, I think, most dogs, then you have a problem, right? Then you have a problem, right? So that's like, how do you go to shul or how do you leave your house if you have a dog that likes to run out? How do you leave, right? So the poskim say what you do is you open the door slightly and wedge yourself in the door, so the door is never really open, right? That's one way.
Do you have an issue with a child, or there's no such issue with humans, with children? He wants to come with you every time he runs out to the door. As far as I remember,
there's no such thing as trapping humans. That's because they have their own das, from what I remember.
Naftali, we would know the answer to that one.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. So Rav Shimon Gamliel, like kol bivaran shomar. Rav Shimon Gamliel says, no, not all bivaran are the same. They're not all created equal. There can be different types. So what does he mean? So Amar Rav Yosef, Amar Rav Yehuda, Mashmuel, halacha. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. The halacha is like Rav Shimon Gamliel that they're not all equal. So halacha meklad. There's nobody that disagreed with him in the Mishnah, right? Must be somebody arguing with him. Right? What does it make a difference to you if there's a? I just told you we pass on like Rav Shimon Gamliel, right? You said, oh, it's mashma. He's saying we pass on like Rav Shimon Gamliel. It's mashma that somebody disagrees with him. So who disagrees with him? So he adds in the back. Well, what do you care? I told you we pass on like Rav Shimon Gamliel, so who cares if there's somebody disagrees with him? Amar so he said, Gemara, is more today, right? Meaning the Gemara is just zmiros, and you're not. I want to understand where are you coming from? Who's the ones that disagree with him, right? Or and that helps you know the background, which is really the answer. Why is it, Taka, that we don't just have lists of halachas and the Gemara goes through the machloksim, etc., etc.? Because if you understand both parts of the equation, or both parts of the machlokes, then even if you know you don't paskin like that, then you'll still have a better and a clearer understanding of the issues at hand, and then you remember it better. All right. So what's the rule? Anything that's missing trapping. So what does that mean? How do you get to missing trapping? Amar Rav Yosef, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, Kol Shaimer, Have Mitzuda v'Nitzayda. If you have to say, go get a trap and let's trap the animal, right? Then that means that it's not yet trapped. Meaning, so if you have a fish, let's say in your bathtub, the way they did it in the old days, you had a fish swimming around your bathtub, right? And for Yom Tov, you wanted fresh fish. So if you'd be able to just reach and grab the fish, which I think you'd be able to from a bathtub, then that's already called trapped before Yom Tov, and that would be fine to take it on Yom Tov. But if you would need a net to get the fish, meaning your bathtub is very large, or you have a jacuzzi or whatever, you have the fish floating around jacuzzi, and in order to get the fish, you'd have to say, hey, bring a net, then that would be a problem. Yeah, so that's what the Gemara. That's how the Gemara is saying it. Fine. So Amalei Abayava wasn't the Tarnagoylin, but geese and Tarnagoylin. Shaimrim Havim Mitzuda Mitzada. We know that geese and Tarnagoylin. We say you need to get a net or a trap to trap the Vatania. Tzada wasn't Tarnagoylin. V'yonah Hadrus is potter. Anybody who traps all these things is going to be potter on Shabbos, right? So what do you mean you just trapped it? So Amar Rabba Ravuna Amar Shmuel Alalu Bain Lekluven LaErev. So it depends. Geese and chickens go back. They come back every night, right? So it's considered trapped even when they leave their coop and they're not in their coop anymore. It's still considered trapped because it's coming home. It's not running away, right? But if it's chayas and stuff like that, or types of birds that that don't necessarily come back, so then that would be considered trapping if you have to grab them, right? So again, everything is very subjective with all these halachas. Is what type and what is the how does it behave? So the Gemara asks, the Yonei Shoivach and the Yonei Aliyah that come home at night. And these birds that they put, and it seems like what they did in the walls, Rashi says, they put in these small holes in the walls of large houses, right? So that wild birds would live there. Either way, so these birds would come back at night, and it says that if you trap them, then you're going to be chayav on Shabbos. So Elamar Rava Baravuna, I'm sorry, Elamar Rava Baravuna, Amar Shmuel, Alalu Bain Lekluven LaErev, Mezanaisan Alecha. He adds in a new requirement. It needs to be that they come home at night, and you need to be responsible to feed them. But the other birds, right? They do come back at night, but you're not mechuyev to feed them. So therefore, you're not going to be chayav on trapping for that. These birds, right? The Yonei Shoivach, they escape. Avidi l'Rabuye means they escape. So therefore, it's considered trapping if you grab them. But the other birds, they don't. Geese and chicken, they don't run away. They're not so smart. They don't get away so fast. So therefore, it's not considered trapping. Kulunami Avidi l'Rabuye. So Gemara says, what do you mean? Every bird somehow has some capability of escaping. So the Gemara says, "L'kluvan kamrina da'abidi l'Rabuye." Right? The what do you call it? The Yonei Shoivach managed to get out of their coop too. The other birds, once they're by their coop, they don't go out anymore. They're not. You're not. Once you got them, you got them. But the doves do escape even what do you call it? Even when they're in their coop. So therefore, you're going to be chayav on trapping for them. All right. So zok the Mishna weiter. Metzudas chayav oif. Now here's where we start getting into the practical of what's with getting packages on Yom Tov, deliveries of packages on Yom Tov and on Shabbos. So metzudas chayav oif dagim shasan me'erev Yom Tov. If you have a trap, so you set the trap from erev Yom Tov, right? You want to catch yourself some food for Yom Tov. So you set the trap. You should not use the animals that you trap in them on Yom Tov. Ella imkain yodesh to erev Yom Tov. You have to know that it got trapped from before Yom Tov, right? Meaning, how do you know? Well, that's the question. How do you know? I'm saying, but why do you need to know? So because of muktzah, there's nothing to do with the trapping issue. This is all a muktzah issue, right? Because if it wasn't trapped from before, you have we had this many times before, right? You have to set aside an animal before the animals, whatever you're shechting from before Yom Tov, to show that it's not muktzah, correct? So here, this thing got trapped in the middle of the night on Yom Tov by night, so it's muktzah, right? So if you have a video camera on the trap, and it or a electronic device, and it trips and it says exactly, lets you know when it was caught. So you'd be able to use it as long as it's caught before Yom Tov. If it was caught on Yom Tov, it's a muksa issue. Yeah. Okay. Umaisa b'nachri echad she'evi dagim l'Rav Gamliel. There was a guy that brought fish to Rav Gamliel. V'amar mutarin hein, they're mutter. Ela shein ritzani l'kabel menu. Rav Gamliel said they're mutter to take it. I don't want to be makabel him because he didn't like this guy, so he didn't want to give him any benefit of taking anything from him. Right? But Lamaisa, he said that it would be mutter to take it from the guy. Yeah, let's see what this means. Zokting one a Maisa lister, it's a Maisa Vestira. We just got the Mishna says that you're not allowed to take an animal that was trapped in your trap on Yom Tov unless you know for sure. He has to be 100% sure that it was caught before. And now this guy brings fish. And Rabbi Gamliel, now you have no idea when this guy caught the fish. He could have caught it on Yom Tov, right? He could have either caught it before or caught it after. But either way, how do you don't know for sure? And Rabbi Gamliel says it's mutter. So when I ask Maisa Lister, you bring the story that's a stira. When I answer Chasure Mechsara, no, there's something missing from the Mishnah. This is how you have to say it. Safik Muchan Aser. It's a suffix. If it's Muchan, it's Aser. Meaning if it's Muchan is the opposite of Muksa. Prepared. Meaning if it's a suffix, whether it was properly prepared, then it's Aser. Rav Gamliel says no, suffix Muchan is Butter. There was a Maisa with a guy that brought fish to Rav Gamliel. He said that they're mutter. Ella, I lost the place. Ella Shane Ritzani the but I don't want to be makabel it from him. So again, now that changes the Mishnah a lot. Now the Tanakama is saying that if you're not sure if it got trapped, you're not allowed to have it. And Rav Gamliel is saying that no, if you're not sure, then it's okay. Some Rav Yehuda Shmuel ain't halacha Rav Gamliel. Halacha is not like Rav Gamliel. And there are those that learn this, that he paskin not like Rav Gamliel on something else. The Tanya Safik Muchan Rav Gamliel Matir, but Rabbi Shua Oiser, that a Safik, whether it was prepared, Rav Gamliel says it's mutter, and Rabbi Shua says it's asur. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel, halacha Rabbi Shua. The halacha is like Rabbi Shua. And some say it was on a third shot. Tanya, Antam Bebeis now, Chavdal Bebeis, Sheichten min hanegarim b'Yom Tov. You're allowed a shecht from taking from animals that come from like a corral. But you're not allowed to shecht animals that came from netting or from traps, right? Because from the corral, because you had it in mind. But if it's from a trap, you don't know. Yeah, because you don't know. Maybe it got trapped on Yom Tov.
Why would a corral be different than an egg that is hatched on Yom Tov? You had in mind that it's the chicken lays eggs every day.
Right, but it doesn't. Yeah, it lays eggs, but it's not. It wasn't. It was loiba la'olam. Right.
So it has nothing to do with having in mind the fact that it was there already. I mean,
it was. Yeah, it was there. So but you have to have it in mind.
Okay.
Right. So, okay, we'll see as we go on with this sugya. Yeah. So anyway, so he's saying from the traps you can't do it. If Shimon Elazar Bo Matzon Mikukalim, he has a very practical answer. If you come and you see that the netting is messed up from Erev Yom Tov, Biyadua Shem Erev Yom Tov Nitzad, then you know obviously you see the trap got messed with, so you know they got trapped Erev Yom Tov. Mutarin, and it's mutter. Bo Matzon Mikukalim B'Yom Tov. But if you only found the netting and the trap messed up on Yom Tov, then Biyadua Shem Yom Tov Nitzad of Asur, and then you know on Yom Tov it got trapped on Yom Tov and it's Asur. Right? So again, the Tanakama is saying you just a straight out thing. Anything from nets and traps is no good. Shimon Elazar is saying, no, you got to look at the trap. See when if you noticed it was messed up from Erev Yom Tov, then it's fine. If it was messed up, if you only noticed it on Yom Tov, then not. So now we're as a kasha, hagufa kasha. You have a stira. Amrit bo matzah mikol kalam Erev Yom Tov. I thought it was loud inside my house in the sukkah. Wow. Anyway, okay. So, boom, we should have this every night for the daf, right? 10 minutes to go.
Yeah. I'll give you any ideas.
That's
Yaakov,
my
does that-
job,
speaking of which, does that schlock still work for me Father's Day back in the day with the crank?
No, that was a different. They're using the old schlock from before that. But I'm not in my mother. I'm in my own sukkah. I have no schlock. Schlock. Anyway, so the Gemara is saying, Hagufa kasha, Amr bo matzimukol kalam erev Yom Tov. If you find the trap messed up on erev Yom Tov, you do a shem erev Yom Tov, then you know obviously that it was trapped erev Yom Tov. Time of the bo matzimukol kalam. That's only because you found the trap messed with on erev Yom Tov. Hasveika, mashma, that if you're not sure if you found the trap messed up, then it's going to be usher. Ema seifa, then you look at the seifa and it says the opposite. Bo matzimukol kalam be Yom Tov. If you found it messed up on Yom Tov, you do it should be Yom Tov mitzvah, then you know it's trapped on Yom Tov. Time of the bomb, it's on Mikul Kolan. That's the reason is because you found it Mikul Kolan. Chos Sveika, it's Mashma, Sveika, Meir of Yom Tov mitzvah, and it's mutter. So again, like the Gemara does this many times. When you have the Reisha says one din, the Sefer says another din. So they say the opposite. The inference is the opposite. So what do you do with this? So the Gemara says Hachi Kamar Bom what's on Mikul Kolan Meir of Yom Tov. If you found it messed with on Erev Yom Tov, be Yadua Shem Erev Yom Tov Nitzaydu, then you know it got trapped on Erev Yom Tov, Mutarin and the animals are mutar. Hasveika, but if it's a suffix, Nasa Kamishin Nitzaydu be Yom Tov, if you're just not sure if the netting or the traps got messed with on Erev Yom Tov, then you know for sure it's happened on Yom Tov and it's awesome. So Rav Yehuda Shmuel Halachik Rabbi Shimon Elazar, and Rav Yehuda Rabbi Shmuel says Halachik Rabbi Shimon Elazar that you look at the type of trap. Fine. Okay, a few more minutes, and this is where we get into the main halacha l'maisa. So we said that. So R Gamliel said when the guy brought him fish, he said the fish is mutter. Mutaron l'mais. So mutter for what? So Rav mutaron l'kabel. It's mutter to accept it, meaning you're allowed to. It's not muksa, but you're not allowed to eat it. Meaning you're allowed to move the take. You got this package from a guy on Yom Tov. R Gamliel says it's mutter to take it. R Gamliel didn't do it because he didn't like the guy. But you got you got it from the guy. You're allowed to move it around the house, no problem. Take in the package, right? Assume again, obviously, we're talking about a package that's not muksa in itself, like electronics or something like that, because this is the case in the Mishnah is fish. But Levi says no. R Gamliel said you're even allowed to eat it. So Amar Rav. So Rav said, a person should never leave the bismerish. Afilu sha'achas, even for 1 hour. Da'anov Levi havinu kamei de Rebbe. Me and Levi, again, the machlokes was Rav and Levi. Rav had said that it's mutter only to move it, you can't eat it, and Levi said you can eat it. So he says, me and Levi were in the bismerish together in front of Rebbe. Ki amr la shmaitza ba'orta, and he said this over at night, right? I'm sorry, ki amr la shmaitza. He said this shmaitza ba'orta amr matan ba'achila at night. He said it's mutter even to eat it, but safra, so I guess when he thought about it overnight, in the morning he changed his mind. But safra mutter l'kabel. You can be makabel, you can't eat it. So me, I was in the bismerish the whole time. Hadribi, so I changed my mind. Levi, the loyave midrasha Levi wasn't in the bismerish and he didn't change his mind. So this is the classic two talmidim. One Talmud says that the Rebbe changed his mind. You just weren't there in the morning. You were making your coffee. You missed it. Right now, nobody knows who was there, who wasn't there, but that's exactly what happened here with Rav and Levi. Right?
Rashi Yaakov.
Yeah.
If you have 1 minute, when they were sitting shiva for Chaim Shmulevich, a well-dressed Israeli businessman came in to be Menachem Avil, and nobody knew who he was. So he told them he was chavrusas with the Rosh Yeshiva in Europe, and they were very. And he said he has a very good head. He was very much in business when he came there to Israel. He said he had a good head, just like the Rosh Yeshiva, but he smoked, and Rosh Yeshiva didn't smoke, so he would stop all the time to roll his cigarettes, and Rosh Yeshiva kept on learning. That same, he kept on learning. He didn't.
Interesting, right? So, yeah. So he was talking about hasmada though, but this you're applying it to here too. You could have missed some zachen from the very good. So Meisvei, so they asked the kasha nachri shevi during the Yisrael. If a nachri, a guy brought a present to Yisrael, afilu dagam hamifulamim, who peris b'nei yamin, even if it's fresh fish, I mean it looks moist, it looks like it was just caught, and peris b'nei yamin, fruit that was picked that day, mutar and it's mutar. So what does that mean? If it was picked that day or trapped that day, it's muksa. So Bishon Lamadam Batam Lakavel Shaper. According to the one that says it's mutter to take it, it makes sense, right? He would maybe allow muksa derabanan, right? Elamandam Mutar Ba'achila, but the one that says it's mutter ba'achila Paris b'nei Yaiman mi sharu b'tiltil. Are we going to allow Paris that were picked that day? They're muksa. Right, so how are you going to answer it? Ella b'kvari da'adimi uperi dekvishi b'yarkaskin. We're talking about what they did. They did a shtick to the fish to make it look fresher. Right? It's fish that it's a kvari da'adimi. It's under the skin. It's like red, so it makes it look like it's fresh when it's really not fresh. And the fruit, the kvishi b'yarkaskin, it's talking about where you put it in the vegetables, and the vegetables kept it fresh, even though it really wasn't fresh. Why are you calling it B'nai Yaiman then? If we're saying it's not B'nai Yaiman, right? Again, B'nai Yaiman we usually use in kashrus. B'nai Yaiman means they were picked that day. Why are you calling it picked that day? Yeah, Shahin Ka'ain B'nai Yaiman. When it looks like B'nai Yaiman. Now we'll just do this very quickly because we'll have to discuss it tomorrow night because it's very important. So Amar Papa Hilchasa. What's the halacha l'ma? What's the bottom line? Nachri shehevi duran li Yisrael. A nachri, a guy that brings a present to Yisrael b'Yom Tov. Let's talk UPS, FedEx, mailman brings a present to a yid on Yom Tov. Im yesh me oisei amin b'mechuber aser. If you know that there's that type of fruit in your neighborhood that grows on trees, then it's aser. Obviously, I said using UPS, FedEx, that doesn't work. Your neighbor, you know that there's apple trees in the town, and your neighbor brings you an apple on Yom Tov. Since you know that they were attached, there are apple trees. Therefore, you can't eat it. That night, you also can't. You have to give it enough time that it would take for the guy to pick the apple tree and bring it to you, right? Which would be whatever amount of minutes. But let's say there's no apple tree. So a guy knocks on your door, gives you an apple. It can't possibly have been picked that day. There's no apple trees anywhere near you. So toichatchum. Right? If you know that you ask the guy, did you bring it for how far away did you walk? So if it came from inside the tchum, it's mutter. Yeah. Chutz l'tchum, if it came from outside the tchum, then it's aser because again the guy is bringing it from outside the tchum, so it's not allowed. And if it was brought for one yid, then another yid is allowed to bring it. Which Taisus asks, how could that be? We know if it's brought for one yid, another yid is aser. So Taisus thinks maybe because of tchum, we're more mekel. Yeah. So bottom line is, if you based on this Gemara, a guy brings you a package on Yom Tov. Mastama came from out of the tchum, right?
It's not a gift.
How do you
this
use
is something
it?
you order.
What?
It's not a gift. He's not bringing you an apple. This is
Good,
something you
good,
ordered.
Good. So then kol sheken should be even worse, right? The guy brings it from, right? The guy brings it from out of the tchum. How are you allowed to use it? The bottom line is the psak nowadays. Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach says that other places say nowadays it's mutter because FedEx, UPS, the mailman, they're not bringing it for you. This is talking about where it was a personal courier. The guy is bringing the fruit from out of tchum for one person only. You meet him on the street. He says, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm bringing this apple to Yankel." Right? You meet a FedEx guy and a UPS guy. Say, "Why are you bringing packages?" So, because that's my job. I gotta deliver packages because that's what I do. You're delivering it to who? He says, I have no idea. I don't care. So Mamela, nowadays, they're working for themselves. So there's no issue. It's only an issue if they did it for the yid. Okay, we'll discuss it tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, I got to start around 8:40, 8:35, 8:40.
Good.
Yeah.
Shabbos. What's the tchum? I mean, who says they're bringing it from outside the tchum? They have these warehouses all over the city.
Oh, so I used to think that if you're getting a delivery Shabbos morning, it was already in the tchum by Friday night.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Not with the delivery. Now the deliveries. I don't think so. I'm no shipping professional. I'm a shopping professional. At least what it looks like in my house, right? With all the boxes that come. But it seems like you could do the same day delivery. You order in the morning, it's there in the afternoon. You know what I mean?
And when
So
Amazon
now-
opens up on Rockaway Turnpike, then you will know.
What do you mean?
That's the real
Hello,
thing,
they have
yes.
now already same day. Jacob, I ordered something today with same day.
Yeah, so that's where it makes
Ordering scotch from Perek doesn't count. We're not talking about that.
No, I ordered brisket from Perek. So Byron, you know what I mean? Come on, Byron. I'm disappointed in you. A couple days in Muncie and you're off your game. What's going on?
Yeah.
Will it change when Amazon's opened over here?
What?
Nothing wrong
Well,
with
that's,
having
I don't know.
both.
You have to find out how Amazon works. You have to find out how it works.
I'm sure you're going to find out before we do.
I get people
Jacob,
ask. Go
I
find
remember
out,
you
right?
once gave a whole share about the Amazon packages on Shabbos once. I remember.
Yeah.
Did I? Yeah. Did
Yeah.
I? Okay, so that's mamish. This is the sugya. So okay, Aaron, tonight you'll speak by the shul. There's no Kabbalah Shabbos. You'll say over this. You'll say it over.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea at all.
Okay.
Halacha l'mais is not my forte.
Okay, you got to at least speak to sugya. Speak
I'll
to
let
sugya.
Zevi do it. Zevi
What?
could handle it.
There you go.
If my father davened Svard, what do I say his stuff or I say what the shul says? If I daven in the Yeshiva Brockway something.
Naftali, tell him-
Naftali, today is no good stuff in Smart. Smart says more stuff tonight.
Right, I'm asking. Do I say it? That's exactly what I'm asking. Do I say it or I
it
don't
ain't
say
gonna
it?
hurt you. All it is Tehillim, Naftali.
Okay. I got my. Okay.
Great
You don't
Shabbos,
need-
You
everyone.
got,
It's Shabbos. You don't
You
need
gotta
to
be
say it
careful
from a
when it-
cloth.
I what?
What do you?
I
What
don't
are
need
you
to see it from the
saying?
you gotta
clock.
be,
Okay, fine.
you gotta be careful when Aaron Kaplan's around because he converted from Ashkenaz to Sard.
He didn't convert, there was a vote.
Wow.
I got outvoted in my own yard, Yeshua. You hear what's going on over here?
Yeah, there were like 3 people left.
It's
Now,
not
you know,
my-
you know what the problem is? I'm davening Sfarad for Kamat 2 years now. When I go to a place like Mincha during the week or something, I daven Ashkenaz. It's a big problem for me. I'm automatically saying, the Sfarad. I'm starting Kedusha saying Sfarad. It's become a problem.
I hear you. I hear you.
Shabbos Shkoyach, what's here?
Jacob, you should have seen Tati yesterday. He came to daven Chol Hamoed, and the first days also. I davened one day, the second day Yom Tov, right? So by Sfarad, they only shake the lulav by the first hoidu. Tati was losing it. That by Yomar no, it was not shaking the lulav. He was not being civil and easy. He was not having an easy time with it.
Yeah. I don't know why the guy goes to you. What should I tell you? I don't know.
Why? Because he's got 3 kids with COVID. That's why.
Oh, there you go. All right. So that's a good reason. That's a good reason. And now I'm gonna be a thing. I'm gonna go into the shower.
Yeah. Enjoy.
Good
Jacob,
job.
let me know about what I texted you. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. I think it's a good idea.
Okay. We'll talk
All right,
about this.
Have a good
Shabbos, Shikayah.